Welcome, everybody, to another Great CEO podcast. My name is Jim Schleckser. I am your host for the Great CEO podcast. And today I have with me Jason Leverant from AtWork. Hey, Jason, how are you?
Jim, man, doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
No problem. Did I hit that last name right?
Leverant? It's Leverant.
Leverant.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
my bad. Leverant. Hey, so I appreciate this. Why don't we just start with give us like a couple of paragraphs on you and your business. Tell us what you do and how you help people out.
Yeah. So obviously, I've been with the AtWork Group for, it's been a long time, since 2007. So going on 17 years, somewhere in that range, 18 years. It's been an exciting journey. Here at AtWork, we are a staffing franchise company. So we actually, interesting model. One, staffing, temporary staffing, contingent labor. It's a unique animal in and of itself. Now we add this even more unique wrinkle of being a franchise company in that space. So it's we help people open up their own staffing businesses across the country is kind of what we do. And we have a few of our own company-owned operations, but at the end of the day, our core kind of business offering, if you run across an AtWork location in your community, we help really great people find really great jobs. I mean, that's really, it's our mission to be at work for you, as you see by our signage and everything floating around. We help folks, find that next adventure in their career, that next job opportunity, whether it be entry level and helping somebody with, their first step into a career, maybe lateral moves. It may be that next kind of accelerated momentum, kind of that upward climb in the ladder. Various branches across the country have different verticals, different services that they do. But that's, in essence, that's what we do. In my office, we support those operations. We make sure that payroll process effectively. We make sure our teams are trained effectively. We build all of our really slick marketing and all those resources that they, make us look and feel and appear really strong in the community. So, that's kind of what we do in a nutshell. But ultimately, at the core, we help impact people's lives positively. So
perfect. So there's 3 gajillion staffing organizations, and I think I'm close on that number, right?
Yeah, very accurate, very scientific.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So what's your competitive advantage? Like, they could go to anybody. Why do they come to you and work with your organization, or more importantly, one of your franchisees? That's really the better question.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So it's wild because in our space, we look at it in the mirror and we are a service provider. And I tell folks all the time, service companies are only as good as the service they provide right then and there. There are a gajillion staffing firms out there. There's a lot of options that a worker can go try to find work, or a company can go to try to find employees. Why go to an AtWork office? So shameless value proposition plug. At the end of the day, in the franchise world, locally owned businesses statistically have been proven to provide higher levels of service, to do what they do better. And so when you have an owner, in our case, a franchise owner, closer to those transactions, so that relationship build, the higher the level of service. And I say that, and I don't say it without having data to back those allegations. We measure, we work with a third party who measures the entire staffing industry. We measure internally. We use a metric called Net Promoter Score. I'm not sure if you're familiar with NPS scores. Sure. Yeah, it's awesome measure.
Reichold's book. Yep.
Yep. Exactly. Absolutely awesome measure of, how am I doing as a service company? Are my customers promoters? Are they advocates for my brand? Or are they detractors? Are they going to talk bad about my brand? So we look at that. And when we post our scores, as do many other staffing franchises, not just us, but I want to, obviously I'm biased, ours are higher than everyone else's, right? So, but at the end of the day, we outperform the staffing industry by 3 to 4x. I mean, from a satisfaction level, we have world-class 70+% net promoter scores on client and talent. And that's both on the company side and on the employee side. That really set it apart. So out of those gajillion staffing firms, the unfortunate truth is that a lot of them have a pretty bad reputation in local communities. They look at them and say, you don't want to go there. They don't have any, they're not going to help you. They don't care. You're an inventory. That's not how we act. It's proven. That's not how we treat our clients, not how we treat our associates. We care because we have people who have a vested interest in the success. We have owners who live in that community who are serving the needs of that community. So
right. Love it. I would, if I was your marketing dude, I'd go like, feel big, act small.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, it's
Right.
it's quite literally, we talk about, the resources of a national organization,
Yep.
but the local ownership aspect. I mean, it really, that's what it is. You nailed it.
Perfect. So what percentage of the revenue recurs every year, right? So, every model we look at, like, is it a one-off? Like I placed the job, I got the pay done, or is
Yeah,
there
yeah, no,
more
no, yeah.
recurrence in your model? What's it look like?
Yeah, I sell a widget and I've made the best widget on the planet. Nobody's ever going to come back and buy it. No,
Well,
no.
that's a
Yeah,
tough business,
yeah. So in our world, I'll tell you, uh, recurrence of revenue is we're growing year after year. So when we put somebody on an assignment, or we build a relationship with a customer, those customers are hiring those people in, and we're counting on natural turnover in their organizations to open up more opportunities with those companies. And so
Got it.
we see it. We saw our revenue grow year after year when offices typically are just doing what they're supposed to be doing on a baseline. Their revenues are increasing. So we're not stressing. There are some elements of our business that are kind of one-offs. If we make an executive placement, because a lot of people may be familiar with the term headhunters and this idea of like, hey, I'm executive search. Those are kind of those one-offs. Like I've placed a partner level attorney at this law firm. Well, if that guy never changes or that lady never loses that position, well, then I don't have any more revenue to make there. I've got to go wider and deeper with my customer, try to see other opportunities or find other customers that have similar needs. So there is some kind of one and done aspect of our business. But at the end of the day, when I look in the mirror for AtWork, we're definitely that contract staffing hourly business. So as long as people are working that hourly basis, it's a longer term revenue cycle. So
got it. Yeah. And that's more about they've outsourced that process to you. So you're kind of their go-to organization when they need more, which they will inevitably because of the turnover rates in those categories that you're talking about. So,
yeah, you're right.
Every business though has at least one point of constraint, one thing that, man, if I could change just one thing about my business, it would be so much better. Better profit, better revenue growth, just easier to run. So what's your one point of constraint? What's the one thing that if I gave you a magic wand, you go, bam, that's what I'm going to change?
All right, I'm going to qualify this a little bit. Are we talking external or internal? Or either, both?
Internal, because you really can't change external. If you say I got to change the administration, I'd be like, you get one vote like I do.
I'll sling the external just one time. It's getting more talent through our doors, getting more employees through our doors. Because at the end of the day, you walk around, go to your local grocery store. What do you see in every business window now? Hiring, right? So people, that's the thing, talent demand. But at the end of the day, if I'm looking in the mirror at work, an area that we have an opportunity to really accelerate is our technology and leveraging the technology on the market today. And a lot of times when people think about technology in the human capital space, in HCM products, you're taking away from that relationship. I'm going to insert a chat bot instead of a human talking with an applicant. No, I'm not talking about leveraging technology in that way, because we are fiercely protective of that relationship build with that employee. What I'm thinking about is taking the tools that our recruiters can use to be able to leverage data, to be able to act more decisively, act more effectively, act more rapidly, to communicate effectively. Because when I'm dealing with needs from some of our client partners, those needs can be 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 people that I need in a very short period of time, being able to effectively elevate my tech game to reach those many people quickly, and then allow them in turn to reach back and say yes or no, and or communicate effectively if I'm not going to make it or if there's going to be slowdown, and trying to be that conduit to the client, because it's all about communication. It's all about trust that's built. So that's really us. And the cool thing is those technology items exist, but the risk for us is we don't want to degrade the service we provide by automating everything, because there are players out there that just go pure tech. There's no human element. It's like bot driven. I don't feel like I feel like that's going to spin off into a separate subset of staffing. That's for some people who love short-term assignment. Think about Uber. Uber is like a staffing company.
Yeah, right.
They're purely app driven. You don't talk to somebody at Uber to help make the match. The app makes the match. You have a driver who is the employee or contractor, however you want to scale it, what state you're in. You've got the client, which is me. I need a ride, and the job, which is drive me here to there. I'm using an app, Uber, the staffing firm, to find a worker, the driver, to take me from here to there.
Right.
I don't want to deal with a human. I don't want to call a taxi company. I don't want to talk with somebody. I want to use the app. So for certain jobs, there's a real fit for that. But in my space, what we're looking for is not to cut into the human element, to enhance the human experience and enhance the human aspect.
Well, and I love the idea of technology innovation at the point of constraint, which is get more people in the door, which is the bigger constraint, right? And technology can help you, then awesome. So let's
Yep.
move over to you for a second. Excuse me. So how many hours a week do you work, and kind of what are the big buckets that you allocate your time into?
Well, so I am very strict with my schedule. I've done quite a few podcasts. I've done some blog writing and some pieces on managing schedule and really
Okay.
focusing on controlling the schedule, prioritization of the schedule. I did a podcast last year around this idea of, my goal is to be at home for dinner with my family. I've got 3 young kids every single night. Assuming I'm not traveling or I have to be out of that town, but home for dinner every night. And that's so important to me. And I feel like if you prioritize your day to day, you can fit it all into a normal work week. So if I'm going to say that, I'll say right now I work 45 hours with an hour lunch every day. So 40 hours actual work, 45 hours here kind of in the office. Exactly. I don't expect people to stay late. I expect people to perform to their, specific outcomes, but I don't need somebody to show me that they're working hard by being here till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So I lead by that example. I get what I need done. And I've been able to show folks that, and not to toot my own horn, but I'm included as one of the youngest members of the Staffing Industry Hall of Fame, that Staffing Industry Analyst writes. I'm on every panel, every industry trade show. I'm a keynote speaker, a panelist, a subject matter expert. I'm positioning myself in AtWork as an organization, as a leader in the industry, and I don't have to do so at the cost of sacrificing my family, sacrificing time with my kids, and not seeing them grow up. I'm a huge proponent for time management, prioritization. It's critical in this day and age, and it's critical for physical health, mental health, so many other factors that kind of impact me. So
nice, I love it. So along those lines, can you name one major responsibility that you delegated to somebody else in the last 6 months?
Okay, so this is something that was super hard for me because I am a control freak. I'm like perfectionist control freak, and
you're in good company with CEOs.
Ripping things from my grip is one of those things I've had over the years had to train myself, because if I was going to continue to scale at work and do what I said I was going to do a minute ago, to be able to maintain like a life, have a work-life balance effectively, I had to relinquish control. So rewinding back to like the 2008 economic downturn, AtWork as a corporate team, we were really budding at that point, and we had a lot of early stage business in the franchise world in 2008 that just couldn't hang on. So we put kind of a reset button. So our team was small. I was one of a few managing this organization, and so I wore a lot of hats. So from 2008 onward, I've had to learn the hard way to peel off all those hats that I had. I built. It was me. I put everything into this certain thing, this aspect of the business, and nobody could do it as good as me, is what I tricked myself into thinking. But at the end of the day, if you surround yourself with a strong team, really professional folks who you can then hold accountable to your standards, you don't have to do it. They can do it, and they can usually do it better than I could do it by myself. Because remember, I'm juggling all these things. They're focusing on that one thing. And so we've made strategic hires in our franchise sales department, in our support department, our marketing department, focusing on, and my focus when I'm hiring is people that I know that can carry the ball. And I know they're not going to carry it the same way I would, but they're going to be able to do it in such a way that elevates the AtWork brand, takes us to where we need to go, and really gets it done. And that's helped me, sleep at night, not have like stress. Is this getting done? Is that getting done? I don't have to worry about that because I'm not a micromanager. I don't want to be a micromanager. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, and it is central to growth, right? If you can't give it up, you don't get to keep growing. That's
you're the I become the bottleneck, and then I'm looking in the mirror and I'm saying I'm charged with growth. Who's slowing the growth? And it's me. That kind of sucks. That's not really good.
Absolutely. So if we had to characterize your leadership style, what would be the 1 or 2 things that we'd say about your leadership style, or you would say about your leadership style?
I'm very laid back. At the same point, I'm extremely.
You seem that way. Yeah, super laid back, dude.
Yeah, I'm not stuffy. I don't want to be stuffy, but I do have high expectations. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a perfectionist. So while I come across laid back, I want to make sure that our outputs, what we produce and what we do, is at the highest level humanly possible for our industry and our organization. So, my laid back nature sometimes can be mistaken that I don't have standards that would match like a certain level. And so I try to balance. That's a balancing act for me. I'm a perfectionist. I want to see things a certain way, and I have to realize that sometimes, is it acceptable? We need to move. So yeah, I feel like I think my team would describe me as laid back, but I do have accountability, and we do have outcomes that need to be met at a certain level and a certain
Mhm.
way to measure. And as long as we're doing that, we're going in the right direction. I'm happy and everybody's good. Yeah, I don't rule with an iron fist by any means. I value tremendously autonomy and letting the team do what they need to be doing. But at the same point, they need to build that trust that I can give to them that autonomy. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's always stages of delegation, and you earn the higher levels of delegation, right? But
Exactly.
through behavior.
Yeah.
Last question. What do you do for fun?
Great question. Well, you heard earlier, I've got 3 kids. So, I mean, they're the definition of fun. I've got a crazy spread. I've got an 18-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
Wow.
That's a story for a whole different podcast I can share with you. But, but really at the end of the day, kids are fun. For myself, I mean, so playing with them, doing the thing, mountain biking with my oldest son and playing Legos with my youngest son and tea parties with my daughter, it's all kinds of crazy fun. But if I had to say for me, what I enjoy is reading. I'm a avid reader, and I'm not going to give you the shameless plug of, I'm reading all these lots of business books, because I do my fair share. And as an author yourself, you can appreciate that. But I do a lot of reading, sci-fi, fantasy. I love just, reading in general. So
Awesome. I think you have to mix it up to keep. It's like sharpening the saw, right? You can't just do all business books. That's actually boring.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a good way. That's my regimen for sleep right there. That's what
Awesome. Well, hey, Jason, this was tremendous. I really appreciate your time. Great interview. And I wish you guys good luck going forward.
Jim, you're the man. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Talk to you
All
soon.
right.
Bye.
Bye.